Welcome back to How to Tickle Yourself. I'm your host, Duff McDonald. My co-host, Matt McButter, is on vacation. But that's okay because I wouldn't let him get between me and this week's guest anyway. She's someone quite close to my heart. She's the sage of sages, the star of the most popular segment in How to Tickle Yourself podcast history. She's the queen of Rockledge, the woman who saved me. And according to Chief Firemingo Mish Moonflower, she is quite literally a fucking angel. I will let you sort out what that means, but I can assure you that whatever your interpretation, it is true. She loves her mom. She talks to her plants. She speaks chicken and cat. She has a greater capacity for love than most human beings. She makes me laugh. She makes me happy. That should come as no surprise to anyone who knows her, because when Joey walks into a room, the skies part and beams of divine light shine a path out in front of her. She is sunshine in human form. For that reason, we've decided to have her back for what we hope will be an annual special in How to Tickle Yourself. Welcome to Tickle Time with Joey Moss.
At the present moment, my love, my dear, everything's connected. This life, this world, it's all right now, right here. Right now, right here. Right now, right here.
Welcome to the show, Joey.
I have a lot to live up to. No pressure at all.
It's been a few minutes since I've seen you. Where have you been out at the chicken coop?
I did. I went to check everybody in, make sure everyone's accounted for and that it's not too hot. And I'm happy to say everybody's there and tucked in and heading to bed.
Listeners, we had a bear attack in the chicken coop this summer. A bear ripped a window off, ripped one of the little chicken doors off, went in there, was eating on the feed, jumping in our compost pile. He or she hasn't been back, but Joey is on high alert that there might be a bear.
I'm just cautious.
So this episode, we're going to talk tickles. For people who haven't read the book, Tickled, which you should immediately, in it, I develop what I call a taxonomy of tickles. There's 4 main tickles. Tickle your tongue, tickle your mind, play with your body, play with your mind. And tickle your tongue is food and drink, like a sweet, sweet kombucha. Tickle your mind is learning something new, that feeling that you get when you learn something cool, where you're like, oh yeah, that's interesting. Play with your body is physical activity up to including sex, and play with your mind is creation. So those 4 tickles sit on top of the one main tickle, which is the tickle of existence. Everything always funnels down to one, by the way, in case you're wondering. There's only one thing. And in this case, it's the tickle of existence. But my recommendation in the book, because it worked for me, is to focus on the things that bring you joy. And you will know them by the fact that if you're paying attention, if you're not distracted out of whatever it is that you're doing in any particular moment, you will feel the tickle of one of those 4 tickles during the experience. And if you can grab a hold of that and hang on to it, ultimately you'll be able to get down a level lower to the tickle of existence. Our friend Sri Aurobindo nails the tickle for me in the following sentence. He said, "The spiritual life will draw its sustenance not from desire, but from a pure and selfless spiritual delight of essential existence." That, to me, is the tickle defined. So without further ado, we wanted to talk to Joey about a couple of her tickles. Joey, what's your top tickle?
My top, I have to rate them.
Well, just off the top of your head, what's number 1? Other than me. You can't say me.
It can't be you every time. Today, it was the petunias because they're growing in our garden, and I grew them from seed, and they're standing up about over a foot tall. I didn't know they did that. And they're all just very sweet and very earnest and are trying so hard to be their best petunia. I just love them. They literally, I see them and I feel a tickle. It makes me really happy. So today, petunias have been my top tickle.
See, for me today, my top tickle is Elvis Presley, because we have seen the Elvis movie twice this weekend. We took the lady with us. She and I saw a preview for it. She was a big fan of Elvis, but she's apparently a big fan of Austin Butler, who plays Elvis in the movie. He's a bit of a cutie. We saw it on Friday night, and we just saw it again tonight, two nights later. I have never done that in my entire life. I've always been an Elvis fan. You know, last winter we were listening to a bunch of Elvis gospel. It is a fantastic movie and is a great example of the magic of Hollywood and the magic of music all wrapped into one. It literally makes you feel like they managed to transport Elvis through time and onto screen. The performance, Austin Butler's performance, is absurd. Tom Hanks is great too. Okay, so what's your second tickle?
Second tickle is my post yoga full body tickle, and I've been doing yoga for a long time. And I don't know if your listeners know, but we do yoga almost every morning. But just recently, I've noticed. Eckhart Tolle has a body awareness meditation that he does, where you try to find the aliveness in your hands. And so you close your eyes and you just focus on your hands until you can feel the aliveness there. And it's a really nice meditation because it takes you completely out of your thinking mind and into more awareness. And so what I've noticed after we do yoga is that it's really easy to access that aliveness in your entire body. So when we're doing Shavasana, the final pose, all I'm doing is just focusing on this. It's a full body tickle, head to toe, and you can just feel the aliveness of your entire body. So that's pretty high up on my list these days.
I thought Shavasana was for sleeping. You're not supposed to take a nap then?
No. I mean, you can sleep. That's definitely an option. But it's for me now, it's taken a different turn. It always historically was just kind of time to meditate or zone out and just kind of chill.
So I got another one for you. This one may come as a shock to listeners based on what I'm going to say, but it's true. My new push lawnmower. For the last 20 years or so owning houses, always had someone come do the lawn in Bronxville and then up here. Billy's truck broke down this year, so we were out a mower, and I bought a push mower that brought me right back to the 1970s in Toronto.
It's electric. It's not the old fashioned push mowers. It has a motor though.
It's not electric. It's gasoline.
Gasoline. Well, the same difference.
Oh yeah, sorry. So it's not a spinning.
I told my mom we had a push mower, and she thought it was one of those.
It's not one of those. We had one of those too. The sound of those was great. It was like whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Anyway, although what I've learned is you gotta mow regularly, or else it's really hard. It's like pushing a baby carriage through a wet beach or something. So, but in any case, the satisfaction of drawing straight lines on your lawn and being able to spend some time outside and do something, do lawn art while you're at it. It's brought me great joy. It's ridiculous. It's like Marguerite was laughing at me the other day and said, "Is that my new hobby, mowing the lawn?"
I had no idea you liked it so much. I was feeling bad that you were out there when it was so hot.
No. What's your next tickle? What's your next tickle?
My next, the sunlight in the morning this time of year, when we first wake up, it literally wakes me up. And it's why it's so easy for me to wake up at the crack of dawn here, is because I look across, and from our room, you can see the koi pond, and you can see statues of Buddha and Ganesh. And right around 6:30 or 6:45, the the morning sun hits them and lights them up, and the whole thing turns golden, and it's stunningly beautiful. So it tickles me awake every day.
All right. So I can counter that with is this my fourth tickle? I don't even know. My fourth tickle is Crazy Legs Conti. He is the most inspiring human being I think I've ever met. And well, maybe other than you. No, he's very inspiring. You're centering or something. A man who lives life to the fullest, no fear, great fashion sense, most loyal and kind person ever. Also, biggest stomach ever. Great culinary expert, but food and touring, and also one of the great storytellers of all time. So Crazy Legs Conti tickles me every time I see him. Another guy who does, and I just need to staple this on here, is Chris Wink, who we've had as a guest on this podcast. And I say that because this tracksuit that I'm wearing was inspired by Chris Wink. I was asking him for some exciting additions to my wardrobe, and he sent me a link to this. So I bought it.
It is amazing.
So both of those men, two of my favorite people who have come into my life over the last decade, they tickle me every time I see them. Next.
Okay, my next is I don't want you to get upset about this one, but it's I don't love them more than I love you, but it's Hot Brown and the girls. So it's the chickens. Like, they are so much fun, and I have the best time with them. They're so amusing, and they take up way too much of my time, but they tickle me, and I'm having such a good time, and they're teaching me all kinds of things about myself.
So I will counter that with the chickens aren't all bad. When we get, our readers with delicate ears, sensibilities might want to cover your ears right now. When we bring in today's batch of eggs, we refer to them, or I refer to them as today's babies. And if you can have a meal with today's babies on it, then you are living large. So my fifth or sixth tickle here is your cooking. And I made a short list. Joey's Impossible Burgers with her absurd vegan cheese, which at first I was totally against, but now I can't eat anything but. And one of today's babies and some kombucha hot sauce and one of those silly cauliflower buns is one of the best meals on the planet. The Joey salad, it comes in too many incarnations to name, but the Joey salad. The Rockledge brunch, which we had this morning, invented by Marguerite and Joey in conjunction. That's pancakes, bacon, eggs how you want them. They'll even make different eggs to order for different people with kombucha and some berries or something. And your shrimp pasta, one of my favorites. I think there's either hearts of palm or artichoke hearts in there too. Little cayenne, something. Every single meal that you make for me is one of the best I've ever had. So I really appreciate it. Thank you. And for that reason, I tolerate your tickle, the chickens, which are an absurd addition to our house. There's 15 of them running around there, moaning and yelling for Joey all day long. Joey, 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 Joey. And she gets up and sprints out of the room because, as already mentioned, she thinks there's a bear. And it's really it's really just a chicken saying, I want something.
I saw a bear. There's a real bear, and it's big, and it can balance on top of the tennis court fence.
Yeah, that's true. What's your next tickle?
My next one is a two-parter. It's when you read to me, and also occasionally when I read to you. So when you read to me, usually, we'll do it in the afternoon. It's like Aurobindo or Balsa carts of a spiritual nature. But I am able to sit there and not have any thoughts and just absorb what you're saying. And it's really amazing because it like laser beams what you're reading into me. And so that is one of my favorite things. The other part of that is I love reading to you the Nectar of Self-Awareness because one,
you just stole one of my tickles. What kind of bullshit is this?
You pre-copied me.
Okay.
But the nectar of self-awareness is also one of my tickles. And the other part of that is that I love reading it to you because he has so much playfulness and delight in that book. And it's like, you can't help but feel that when it's being read to you or when you're reading it. So, yeah.
All right. That one is accepted under protest. That last one. I was thinking that I would do kombucha, but that one is, we just did an episode with Hannah Crum. We don't need to
You're stealing one of mine.
beat that
My
dead.
God.
Well, that you can do it. I'm not going to. I was going to say my fireplace, but it's the wrong season, right? We haven't had a fire here in a couple months, but
Right, we're keeping it to now, right? It's like our current.
it's current tickles. So, even though you just kind of bigfooted on this one, before I knew Joey, in fact, before 2020, I had never read a single book that could have fallen into the category of spirituality in my life. I read a lot, like I thought had a wide reading list, but it just sort of didn't veer into this huge and massive category. So I made a short list of the people. Now, if anyone listening wants book recommendations here, I know some people mentioned them in season 1. Shoot me an email at duffmcd@mac.com and I can give you some specifics. But we got Sri Aurobindo, who's my top guy, Baba Muktananda, of course, Guru Mai, the Siddha Yoga Guru, Nisargadatta Maharaj, Ramana Maharshi, Ramesh Balsekar, Swami Vivekananda, Swami Venkatasananda, who translated the Srimad Bhagavatam, Swami Nikalananda, who translated all the major Upanishads and Shankaracharya's self-knowledge, Swami Kripananda, who's another Siddha Swami who did the Guru's sandals, and did she do another one?
Did she do Yaneshwari?
She did Yaneshwari. She did Yaneshwar Maharaja's Yaneshwari, which is his rendition of the Bhagavad Gita. Also, Maharaj, Nectar of Self-Awareness. And the interesting thing about this realm to me that I didn't know about is, in addition to its straight content, there's a tradition in the spiritual writings of India. There's like some primary scripture, and then there's commentary on that scripture, and then there's commentary on that commentary. So if you find something that really floats your boat, you can keep going. You can find, I've done it with the Bhagavad Gita. I've now done it with Nectar of Self-Awareness, but with Aurobindo sort of as an umbrella in this, you can keep going in something that touches you in the place, spiritually, and it's fucking endless. So that is my latest tickle. The current one I'm reading is called Experience of Immortality by Ramesh Balsekar. It's his commentary on the Nectar of Self-Awareness in light of the teaching of his own guru, Nisargadatta Maharaj. So it's like a triple play. And Maharaj is one of the great Vedantist thinkers, and Advaita. And what the other one is Ramana Maharshi. They're the more modern ones. And Maharshi had this talks about this thing called sparana, which I think is, to me, he's describing the tickle, right? So he says here, like the dynamo, it vibrates and can be felt by the calm mind that pays attention to it. It is known to the yogis and seekers by the name sparana, which heart throb ever scintillates with consciousness in the natural state. And he says sparana can be felt in a subtle way even when meditation has sufficiently stabilized. Says it's felt in several occasions, such as fear and excitement, although it is always and all over. It's felt at a particular center. And I felt the tickle particularly, I felt it a lot reading Baba. I feel it reading Aurobindo and Maharaj. Kind of, it's not your heart center in terms of the heart. It's kind of like the center of you. I tend to feel it near the spine or in the spine, but he's talking about feeling the delight of existence that Aurobindo was referring to earlier. I'm sorry. I've been taking up too much tickle time here. What's your
They obviously tickle you. So
what is your next tickle?
My next, you sort of stole, but it's lavender mint kombucha, and it's specifically lavender mint because lavender itself is one of my tickles, and I smell it walking down our sidewalk, and it still stops me in my tracks. I love it. So the fact that we get to drink it in kombucha, it completely rocks my world. I love it.
We have kombucha on tap here at Rockledge. For any of you foolish people who've not considered visiting, there's your reason. Bob Dylan, come on. It's self-evident. There are untold depths in Dylan's lyrics that I discover more I'll be sitting there thinking about it. I won't even be listening to him. I'll be thinking about a song and be like, oh, I see what he's doing there. The wordplay is astounding. Also, very spiritual songwriter who somehow managed to sort of slip it into a popular songwriter's career, where he's, the melodies, et cetera, are beautiful, but profoundly spiritual. And it's amazing. I kind of knew it. I never really knew it. I do know it now. So my love of him is even at a higher height than it used to be. I was talking to my friend Rob Levine when we were out in Tulsa at the opening of the Bob Dylan Center. And I told him, I was like, here's how far it's gone these days. Dylan had this Sinatra phase where he put out 5 full albums in a row of standards covers, mostly Sinatra. And I had no time for it. And I saw a show or shows where he played a lot of it. It's like, this is horrible. What's happening here? And I've come completely around. Can't get enough of that era of his life or his recording history. For anyone who hasn't checked out the new album that came out during quarantine, Rough and Rowdy Ways, it's front to back a great album, but the song I Contain Multitudes is completely mind-blowing.
That is a lifelong tickle for you, though, Bob Dylan. Okay, next on my list is Steve the Cat and Corey Feldman, In the Morning, particularly because they're extra lovey. Corey Feldman is, and Steve just carries a sense of humor with her all the time. Like, she's just a funny cat. And you said in the beginning that I talk to cats and I talk to chickens and I talk to my plants, but I communicate with them, and that's a little different.
It's funny that you left out Stevie Wonder there, and that's because he is more affectionate with me than you. So you clearly play favorites.
That is not true. I'm talking about them in the morning when they're being like particularly affectionate and cute.
Steve is begging for food in the morning is what she's doing.
You call it begging for food. I call it love. It's like, tomato.
All right. On which note, we're going to introduce a new segment here. It's the quote of the week. We normally end with quotes, but I'm just going to slip one in here in the middle of this episode because it's tickle time with Joey Moss. Have you ever heard of Dame Gertrude Moore?
No.
That's a lie because I told you about her when we recorded a rehearsal of this episode like 2 days ago.
Let's start over again.
Have you ever heard of Dame Gertrude Moore?
Oh, yeah. I think you mentioned her the other day.
Thank you. Okay, so she's a nun, a Christian nun who was a mystic. And her quote is, "To give all for love is a most sweet bargain."
Amen.
All right, you got any more tickles? You got any more for us?
No, that's my tickles. But you know what I realized as I was looking at it is it's Rockledge. I spend my day here at Rockledge Studios, and I am surrounded by the things that tickle me.
Like the fig tree in your background? You're surrounded by that tree.
Yes, that's from our friend Paula. I inherited that tree, and I love it. But this place is, I feel so much gratitude. I feel so lucky that I get to live my life surrounded by things that light me up all day long.
That's wonderful. I'm happy to hear that. I knew when I bought this house that it was all that. I just didn't articulate it that way for a little while. So 2 more before we go. One, the writing of Rich Cohen, right? Greatest writer of our generation. If you haven't checked him out, we had him on for a full podcast. When I read him, I feel tickles every page. It's crazy. I have a. It's not really a man crush, like it's not that, but I have a writer crush on him. I want to eat his writing. So thank you, Rich, for that. And then finally, the lady herself. She's the ultimate tickle. We have in this family one of the funniest, cutest, sweetest, kindest, most adventurous, brave, courageous, badass little children. She's not really a little child anymore. She's 13 and sprouting like a pea shoot.
She's a regularly sized
She's
human.
a regularly sized human. And I think we're going to, because she's so awesome, we're going to bring back a segment we haven't used in a long time and talk to her about Tickle Time with Joey Moss. So let's go see what the little lady has to say. So we're returning here to one of the classic segments of How to Tickle Yourself, backed by popular demand, starring the lady herself. Hey, Marguerite.
Hi.
So today's show is about Joey, who came into my life, turned it upside down in a good way. And I think from what I can tell from the outside, had a similar effect on you. Can you... what's the best way you can think of to describe Joey? What's she been like for you?
Joey is kind of like an adult best friend, and she's one of the best cooks I know, and she's a lot of fun to be around, also in the pool, garden, etc.
Has she taught you anything that I hadn't, or mom? Like, has Joey had some kind of input into your life, showed you a way of thinking that was new to you?
She kind of showed me that no matter what, you should be nice to everyone, no matter how they treat you, because in the end, it's the nicest people who kind of end up on top. On top. Let's go straight to the top. Also, I think what she has added into this house, at least for me, is taught me about patience. Has she taught you anything about patience? Yeah, especially while gardening.
So just before we go, we mentioned earlier in the show today that we'd seen the Elvis movie twice in the theaters in a single weekend. And it was all because of you. And we went once. You wanted to go back the next day. You really didn't know much about Elvis before. And from what I can tell, you're an Elvis fan now. What is your sales pitch for listeners who haven't seen this movie?
Well, it was good enough to see 2 times, and I'd go back another. So if you can go to the movies, I would go watch it as soon as possible.
What's your favorite Elvis song?
Maybe Can't Help Falling in Love.
Same here. Thank you for rejoining us. It's been too long. We'll have you back again soon.
Thank you. Anytime.
Because we're bringing back all the old segments and all the fan favorites, this one might blow your mind a little. At this point in the show, we typically visit with the Sage of Sages, Joey Moss. That's you. At first, I thought it would be impossible, but then I realized that it wasn't. I can simply ask you about yourself and leave all the logistics to you. So we're going to go with the segment as planned because it's everybody's favorite segment anyway. Okay. What would Joey do? Hey, Joey, we're here talking to Joey. What's the skinny on Joey? What do you like about her?
Hi, Jeff. I'm happy to be here. What do I like about Joey? In the words of Lucy McKeon, she's very kind. Lucy McKeon was Joey's grandmother, and she always described her as a very kind person. So I would agree with Lucy that Joey is kind. At least she does her best to be kind all the time. How can I talk about myself?
Okay. Marguerite just said that too. So we second that. We triple that. Thank you, Joey, for visiting us. We really appreciate having you on the show. And it's always fun to hear you talk about yourself like that.
Thank you, Dad.
So to end this episode as a because of our guest, Joey is the one who introduced me to Swami Muktananda, who affectionately called Baba, her guru. And I'm going to, instead of reading Aurobindo, I'm going to read a quote from Baba for you because it's pretty awesome. God is with all of us, but to understand this, we have to understand the structure of the universe. This entire world came into manifestation because of the explosion of the bliss of God. It lives in God's bliss and finally merges into Him. All the forms of the universe are made of nothing but that bliss. The different activities of the world, its infinite and amazing modifications, its various names, its strange and diverse forms, its fascinating and remarkable arts, and its highly refined skills are all the joyful creation of the actor of the universe. Just as a spider spins a web out of its own body, God Shakti, His own independent and inseparable power, created this universe out of His own being, manifesting it upon its own screen in total freedom.
Wowza.
That's Swami Muktananda from I Have Become Alive, if you like the sound of that. Thank you, Joey. It's been a delight to have you. We will have you back on as soon as humanly possible.
Have a good night.
At the present moment, traveling town to town, the mystery of the motion, right here, right now, right here, right now, whoa, right here, right now.
You've been listening to How to Tickle Yourself with your hosts Duff McDonald and Matt McButter. You can help us by liking, subscribing, and sharing this podcast with others. You can talk to us and see what else is happening on Instagram and Facebook at How to Tickle Yourself. This program was recorded in Studio B of the historic Rockledge Recording Studio and the Tunnel Under Arundel. Right Here, Right Now, our original 16-part theme music was written and recorded by the legendary Paul Reddick and Kyle Ferguson of the Sidemen, with the brilliant Steve Mariner on bass and drums and in the mixing room. The podcast is produced and distributed by Storic Media. Our editor is Andrew Steiner. Our coordinator is Samantha Abramovitz. Our producers are Kristen Verbitsky and Chuck LaBella. For more information, visit storicmedia.com. That's STORIC media.com.
My love, my dear.